Appreciate you, man. And I guess to start out, we got to get all of the introductions out of the way. So let the folks know who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Yes, yes. So what's up, everybody, man? So my name is Freedom Johnson. I am in Oklahoma, two cities, Lawton and Oklahoma City, about an hour and a half away. 10-year realtor. I think I'm a 10-year. Actually, let me get the numbers right. I think I'm an 8-year realtor, 10-year investor, and brand new developer. So we build a neighborhood. That's the next step. So really, just in the real estate game, man. Just in the game.
That's what I'm talking about. We buy the block, we build the block, we renovate the block, we can sell blocks, whatever you need.
Whatever you need. Yes, yes.
You want this real estate, we got this work over here.
Yeah. You got a house, we'll figure it out.
There you go. You got some land, we'll figure it out.
You got some land, I'm your man. You got a house, we'll figure it out.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, just let the people know I'm old school. I got old soul for sure.
There you go. There you go.
Words and rhymes in today's session for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how did you in the journey? It sounds like you were doing investing before you got your license. So how did your journey sort of bring you to real estate? And then from just sort of getting into real estate, how did you get to the place where you're like, man, I got to get my license?
Yeah, long story short, I'm just like everybody else. You know, when you hit that crossroads in life where you like frustrated with what you've been doing, but curious about, what's the next step. That was me for sure. So real estate first got introduced to me from my father. He gave me a Rich Dad Poor Dad at 16. And then whenever we hit, I want to say somewhere between 23 and 25, I got to that crossroads of life where I was frustrated with what I was doing, but curious about a new thing of doing. So I reread Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the long story short, I remember it saying, find a job to learn a skill, not to pay the bills. So, but he didn't say it like that. That's my old soul coming out, y'all. I will make a couple rhymes here. So, but he said, yeah, you want to find a job to learn a skill. So the skill that I was thinking about at the time was like, how do rich people think? What do they do? And what do they buy? So I literally went to my church and was asking guys, where do you work at? Where do you work at? God told me South Lake. I work in South Lake, Texas. We do home theaters, installation for upper tier clients, in the $500,000 price point and up. So because of the book, the skill I was trying to learn was sales. Because I've always been a struggling entrepreneur, right? So when Supersonics was coming out to Oklahoma City, before they even had the name, the Thunder, they were thinking about the Thunder of the Barons. When they were in that transition, I was cleaning Kevin Durant's car and his chef's and his brother's car at a car wash that I was at. I was cleaning there. So I've always been able to have an ear. I think that's probably really important in the game, right? I always had an ear for the opportunity and an eye to see where opportunity was. But South Lake was that opportunity. I was like, oh, this is successful people. This is This is not a necessity. This is an accessory that they want. They must have some expendable income. So let me learn how they move and how they think. And that was my journey to real estate. And one of those houses was a guy who was buying a house for a lady. And that planted another seed, which led me going to actually getting this ring right here cleaned by my wife, for my wife. I met the guy who sold me this ring. I said, man, I'm struggling, man. I'm like, what do you do? And he said, go watch this YouTube video. And that was a real estate video. And I just kept coming back until he got bothered with me. And he was like, you're really serious about this, aren't you? I was like, yeah. So I got fired from that job, that home theater job, because by that point I was doing project management for construction. So the seed was planted. I immediately started taking action because I had the ear. Because these rich people, not only did they want a home theater, but they also was like, do you know a painter? I need a PlayStation for Christmas for my kids. Do you know that? So I learned quickly, just have a network and know people. And you can be the middleman by helping them find whatever they need. You become the guy instead of a guy. So right after that, when they fired me, I went back to him and said, I got to figure out something. So he said, you can either go to this chicken job that my other business owner friend got, or you can go to this real estate conference. It's up to you, free. I clearly went to a real estate conference. And then that's how I got in the game. Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So so now we're gonna jump around a little bit here. So for those of you that do not know, Freedom is very low key, but this is the man we got here, y'all. If you go on YouTube, this man is completely dominating what he's doing out there. So now, because you're very sensitive to seeing what those opportunities are. You were hearing what direction a lot of these wealthy people were going, and you were talking to people about sort of mastering your resources to become that broker, that go-to person for what they were looking for.
Yeah.
In that, how many iterations of your marketing, of what you were doing, of what you were finding out to see what worked? How did you come to YouTube as that thing? So was that just sort of the first thing, or did you try other platforms? Did you do other direct mail or networking or whatever? How did you come to the point where you were like, man, this is the place where I need to be focused?
Yeah, I think for me and for for a lot of us in the business too, we go through different seasons of information, understanding, and wisdom. So we all go through those different seasons, and we might go through a season where we get a lot of information. So the first season for me to get to YouTube started out with podcast. No, it actually wow, that's crazy. Now I think about it. It started with YouTube, but it wasn't what it was. So YouTube is where I searched for things, right?
Yep.
Somebody says, when I told you about my mentor who got the ring, he said, go watch this video. He sent me a YouTube video. So
Okay.
learning about the game from YouTube, and then fast forward, once I actually start marketing, podcasts introduced me to something called wholesaling. So I went through a season of wholesaling, and in that season, that's when it started with door knocking foreclosures. Very first uh, level of marketing. Skip tracing them first, and then finding out, and then after that, the next season was direct mail, and then the next season was cold calling, and then the next season was trying to put them all together. And then the next season was um, let me do that, but then let me also start doing some video because I'm watching and learning from video, and I'm listening through audio and podcasts. But what if I'm on the other side of that? So it was literally let me just do it on video and audio. And then that season went to let me, what the heck is TikTok? And what is Instagram? What's LinkedIn? What's Facebook? And what's YouTube? I mean, Facebook and YouTube. And then that led to I'm seeing what's happening. And then when it started for YouTube, by that time, I'm about maybe 7 years in.
Okay.
I've committed to documenting my process, right? I'm just like, I'm gonna just document the process. And that led to me getting clients. And then when I actually went through the season of let me actually see my KPIs and actually see where I'm getting the most from, it wasn't YouTube. But you know what did hit me, Nate?
What's that?
It wasn't where I was getting the most leads, but it was where am I getting this one is not the most, but my reaction and my response and people's response to me is very, very different than door knocking. These people feel like they know me.
Yeah.
These people feel like I owe them. And I was like, okay. Well, if I'm getting a lot over here, but it feels good over here is going to drain me.
Yeah.
But over here, this fuels me.
Yeah.
And then that's when it said, it went from me documenting the process on Instagram, and that was more branding type content, to actually, who else is doing it? And it wasn't a lot of people, So at that time, it was literally me reading books, Think Media, Sean Cannell, um, and then I'm hearing that other realtors are doing it. So then I start typing it in, and I could see by this point, I'm about 7 years into YouTube from the documentation process. And then I see one guy, my man Jaime Resendez, he says how to do YouTube for real estate. That opened up all the floodgates, which was about 4 years ago. And then that's when YouTube became the one. But that first deal, when I analyzed, the lady literally gave me her keys. She said, "I've seen your videos. I know who you are. Here's the keys. You tell me when you want to sell." I clearly looked at that and was like, yeah, I don't think cold calling is gonna be the route.
Yeah.
And that was
But
over
you touched on something that is that I want to circle back to, because I think there's power in this, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and especially in the luxury space, trying to sort of balance. And you touched on the fact that people feel like they know you because
Yeah.
you were sharing the journey, like you were sharing sort of how you got here, and
Yeah.
that gave them a level of familiarity with you, like, oh, he really does this.
Yeah.
And they feel like, they know you because they've been part of the journey. They're watching you do that, that thing, as you're doing it, as you're going from the renovation to the property acquisition to the all of those pieces, or learning listings and putting out signs and all of those things.
Yeah.
How how has that sort of changed as you sort of made the pivot into doing more marketing, more value based stuff,
Yeah.
versus showing I know you still do some of the journey stuff. I know you still do some of your behind the scenes stuff, but
Yeah.
how have you seen has there been a change, or are you still seeing people with the same level of familiarity as your content becomes a little more education focused and not, behind the scenes, or are you still doing a mix of the two, sort of 50-50, 60-40? What does that look like, and how has that changed the type of people that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think for the documentary style, there's definitely been a lot less of that. And I think for the education, there's definitely been a lot more clients from it. So if you look at, creating content if you look at your content portfolio and you look at it like an artist who just released an album, and you look at the compilation of all your albums, every album has a different vibe, right? And a different objective. So when I put the whole album, the whole portfolio together, when you look at it as a whole, you get to learn a lot about, Freedom Johnson from it. But the objective is also to get the phone ringing.
Yeah.
So it's probably, I definitely say it's about 80-20 right now in this season, and I really stick to that word to that phrase in this season, because I do know that there's a different season, that I might present it a different way. It might be more building than this home for sale. But in this season right now, right now it's definitely a lot of value based education, get to know about Oklahoma, documentary style. I don't think it's as important in this season right now, but how do you still tell the story from content? Well, that's where a bunch of those partnerships and branding, jumping on, partnering with, finding the right partners to tell your story and educate people, and they, hear your story behind the scenes or on some platform that you partner with somebody at. So it's still, but it being filmed and posted, not as much. But but each platform is a little bit different. You might see more behind the scenes on Instagram now, and Facebook, than what you will on YouTube.
Gotcha. Oh, cool, good stuff. So along those lines, sort of take the next step down that path, as you're starting to see these clients, and you're meeting a lot of these luxury folks, and I know that you're getting a really diverse group of people, because you're getting both local and transplants, so people that are coming and going. You're in a military town, so there's some military traffic that you see there as well. what
Yeah.
what has been the most surprising thing about clients that are coming in? Like, is there if you had to say one thing that surprised you? I knew they were going to do this. I knew they were all going, they feel real familiar with me, so they're really comfortable. Has there been anything that you've gotten, or anything that you've seen, or anything that you've experienced that you're like, man, I was not expecting that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, One funny thing, and then one thing that helped me level up. Um, when you're getting relocation clients, the biggest thing to prepare every agent for is the time difference.
Mm,
So,
that's
yeah,
a good
so
one.
because if my consultations with my clients are anywhere between like 8 to 7 p.m., if you're in Egypt, then you don't have that time available. Next thing you know, you're doing a 2 a.m. in the morning consultation. Don't ask me how I know, because I've never ever done it ever in my life ever before. Right. The time difference for sure, because with their 8 to 5 could be my 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And so as soon as they say, "Hey, I just got off work," well, they're just getting off work. It's me putting the babies to bed. That was definitely the one that I forgot about. for sure. And I was like, okay, so I'm not gonna open up my time to be available at this 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m.,
Yeah.
but I will communicate and we will work around my schedule. I think the other thing so that's the funny thing, but for the business, I think what it did is it helps you level up. I really believe that I have. I mean, and you know this because you watching front row with me as well. It's transitioned from realtor to now being like a tastemaker
Yeah.
of the city. And expanding your network. It will expand your network because if I move to Egypt and I found out about Egypt from a realtor, that realtor is now he's going to transition from being a guy to the guy for me.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I think it definitely helps your services, and it gives you a great excuse to expand your network now because transplants have other questions. Where's the best car to buy? What's the best dealer? Who's the best landscaper?
Yeah.
And those are some of the things inside of real estate. But the tastemaker part of it is, hey, I'm into art. Where's the best museum?
Yes.
Um, you know, where's the best car show? Who's the best horse trainer? My
Yeah.
kids do tennis. Who's the best? So now you become this networker and this tastemaker, and then you play that into the luxury space. Now it's who's the best chef
Yeah.
or who's the best interior decorator. So
Yeah.
it definitely made me level up because whenever they would ask a question, it still goes into my brain like, okay, you need a chef. I need to know chefs. You need a horse trainer. I need to know horse trainers.
Yes.
So yeah, that's definitely the part that made me grow for sure.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, and speaking of growth, and this is sort of growth and balance, right? So a little earlier, you alluded to you were asking questions, of people at church when you sort of exploring, trying to figure out what was going on. Uh, you and I both have babies. We call them babies, even though they're not little baby.
I
Well, you
know,
got
right?
little.
Yeah,
They're always gonna be little to us. We
yeah.
both got wives.
You see, he's still a baby. I said, how the
They,
babies?
exactly. So uh, balancing your balancing family, right?
Mhm.
And the parts of your business that you can take your babies to, that you can take them on the showings and stuff like that, and the stuff that you can't take them, but you want to show them with the level of, and you just sort of alluded to this, the level of concierge level, high level service, right? So we know there's a trade-off there. I don't believe that there's a family life balance. I think a lot of times it's much more of a pendulum because it's
Yeah,
60-40 here and 60-40 there and 80-20 there. It's that's just sort of how it works. But how is your experience, especially as you move into more of the luxury stuff? Like you just said, you're a tastemaker. So that means you got to be moving and shaking. You had wine tastings, you out. Some of this stuff is stuff you can take the kids to because it's, fall festival type stuff. Some of this stuff you can take your other half to because it's a wine tasting or something like that. But some of that stuff is just stuff that you got to be at, sort of doing in your thing, doing your thing, being you. How have you? What are some of the best ways for communication, or how are you seeing that sort of play out? How do you make sure that your wife don't cut your head off, but you still get to go get the money and balance those two things?
yeah. I don't know. This interview is over. You tell me.
I'm
Right.
trying to get some tips.
Uh,
We can
right.
brainstorm on this. This is a real mastermind right here, y'all. Y'all are
Yeah, yeah.
seeing this in real time.
This is real. I think for real, what I'm learning is that I'm learning to look at it in seasons, right? In this season, what moves can I make with? I probably just learned about maybe 4 months ago. Stop doing it for them and start doing it with them.
Mhm.
And from that mindset alone, the with part is now how I make the decision on which events I go to, right?
Ah, yeah.
So there's a lot of withs, and then there are some fours, right? So tonight, uh, uh, my wife and I we're going to an event that is for us, but I'm doing it with her, right? So
Mhm.
we're going to go see this huge, it's the biggest house in Oklahoma history ever listed. we're going to go to that event. Now that means that the kids can't come. So the trade-off was, okay, who do we pay or which family member can watch them for tonight's event? Okay, it's from 7 to 11 p.m. What if we go from 8 to 10? So that's definitely the trade-off, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think the things that I can do with the things that I think a lot of realtors and brokers and investors and builders and developers can do with their family is you got to expose the kids. You got to expose the babies to this world because if the here's something that I do know. If your kids hate what you do, that means you're doing it wrong. Right.
absolutely. That's a bar right there. That's
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
So can I take my kids to a lot of these events? Can I take my kids to these houses? Can I expose them to show them what's possible so that they get to dream as big as they can? I
Yes.
absolutely can. You know, especially, and this is something that you and I talked about with us having keys to the city by being a licensed agent. You know, they say that James Bond had a license to kill, but because we got keys to the city, we got a license to reveal. We can literally show our kids
Yes.
every house that is available for sale.
All of the possibilities. I like that. We have a license to reveal. That's dope.
100%. So the kids do come to a lot of these, whether it's a super luxury house or where it's a fixer upper. I do that with. Now, if it's during the day, and it's one of those days where I got this client, this client, this client, and drive to this city, well, that's one of those. Can I do this with, or am I going to do this one for? Okay, I think today we'll do this for, but tomorrow I'll do it with. So the way to integrate family in it, I think the lesson is if your kids hate what you do, you're doing it wrong. If your spouse hates what you do, you're doing it wrong. Probably because you said you're doing it for instead of doing it with. So I think the other part about events that you can go to for tastemakers, I make a decision based off that question. Which one of these tastemaker events can I do for? And which one of these tastemaker events can I do with? Both of those, the duality of those are important for me because I don't want them to ever feel like he's only doing it for. So that's how I make my decisions for sure.
Man, that's dope. That is super super powerful. And I am going to put license to reveal on a t-shirt. So next time you see me when I have one on, don't be mad at me because I'm gonna put that on the shirt. That
Absolutely.
you see, I just wrote it down. I was like, I got to get that now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now
I'll just
I
make
have
I call it to make the trademark guys so we can get paid off that too.
there you go. I'm with
Yeah.
it.
Me and Nate on that guys from Hill.
So now the to sort of wrap it up, sort of put a bow on this. One of the things that I know happens to me, and I'm sure you get a lot, especially now with a lot of the visibility that you get with your YouTube stuff is really taking off. What is one of the biggest pieces of advice that
Mm.
you would give to an agent that is looking to transition from, okay, I've been doing these regular houses, these foreclosures or this middle market stuff, and I really want to step up into the luxury space. I want to be there and sort of begin to move here and be more present in that space. What's the big, I know there's a lot of stuff we can go into, and we'll probably do that in some future episodes, but if you were giving them one or two really big pieces of advice, what would you say?
The the first thing I'm gonna say, because as you're saying it, I'm thinking about okay, if this new space, if we're gonna build a new house called luxury, we need we need the foundation first. So what is going to be the foundation of elevating your business into a higher tier price point? I think the foundation is definitely going to be mentality and have a go giver networker mentality. So if that's one piece of the we'll call it four pieces of the foundation. If one is definitely be a giver, the second corner of that house is going to be uh, network into rooms that you're afraid of because
Mm,
that a lot of the people are doing deals and building a relationship. I think the third cornerstone of that foundation would be to understand that when it comes to luxury service and luxury price point, there also is a luxury mindset and there's also luxury character that you must have. And I don't mean by money. I mean, when you say you're gonna do it, do it. When you say you can help, help. When you say you know someone, actually introduce somebody.
Yes.
Um, and then I think the fourth thing is probably the most important is that know that you're worthy of it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people don't jump into this space is because they don't believe that they're worthy, and they think you have to have this $1 billion in order to be in the industry. But if they just read the book Go Giver, you'll actually learn that what we are so wealthy already because
Yeah.
we've got kindness, we have character, we have peace, we have people that we know, we have physical labor, we've got time, we've got relationships, we've got technology. We're familiar with whatever city that we're in already. So we are wealthy in every single room, you know. So I would say those four foundations: know you're worthy, definitely have a go giver mentality, understand the space, and make sure that you are networking and connecting with the right people to connect your clients to. If you start with that foundation, you can go build the house however you want to, but those are going to be your foundations for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm gonna put a link to the Go Giver in the description on this video, both the Audible and the book, because that's a good book. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you, kicking it with me for a little bit today, man. This has been super super powerful. We got to do it more often, so we definitely gonna have you back.
100%. I'm down. I'm down. Also,
And
read marketing too. We gotta tell them to definitely read marketing to the affluent too, because that'll teach a lot of people about the mindset of these C-suite executives and how their expectations aren't crazy. It's just they play at a high level.
Yep.
So you got to be a high level player. I think those two books for sure will
Yeah.
definitely be part of the foundation.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Definitely appreciate it. That's dope, man. This has been wonderful.
I love it, man. All the time. All the time. So yeah, just so you make sure that you just email me and mail me that shirt so we both can have that shirt.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.